Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the newest episode of the Theater Enthusiast podcast. I am so delighted to welcome our next guest, currently starring in the brand spanking new musical playing at Circle in the Square Theater just in time. Please welcome Caesar. I'm going to try it. Hopefully, I got it. Samayoa.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
oh God, I'm sweating. Oh God, I'm so happy I got it.
It's a difficult one.
You think it's not because it's spelt out. And I was like practicing it before you came
It's all
on.
right. I tell everybody just say every letter you see and you're gonna get it right.
If it makes you feel, I'm Allison with one L and people still mess it up, even when they're writing emails to me and my name is in my email. Or
I
like,
totally get it. I think I
yeah,
have 30 versions of my first and last name out in the universe right now.
that's great. Well, I can't remember if it was my sweet 16 cake or my bat mitzvah cake, but one of them had my name spelled with two L's.
Are there pictures? Do you look at it all the time?
No, that's why I can't remember which one, if it was my bat mitzvah or my sweet, maybe it was my
That's
bat mitzvah.
amazing.
Anyway, thank you for coming on. Welcome. I just realized we're twinning both in black t-shirts.
Yes, it's like the
Yeah.
actor uniform.
Yeah, or just like the New York uniform.
Exactly.
Yeah. Most of my wardrobe is just black. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on. Welcome.
I love it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
of course. So I always like to start off with, where are you from?
My family is originally from Guatemala,
Mm.
and almost the entirety of my family is there. I'm first generation American. Started out here in New York in Spanish Harlem, and then we moved into New Jersey, into Bergen County, New Jersey, in Emerson. So I'm kind of tri-state area boy.
Nice. So what I really find interesting about you is that I always ask what got you into performing, and which I will ask. Let's start with that, and then we'll get into what I find interesting about your college situation.
Sure.
Yeah. So what got you interested into performing?
Well, as I said, my family is from Guatemala, and when we came to this country, this just was not anywhere in our wheelhouse in terms of Broadway, going to Broadway shows, performing, and a teacher introduced me to the theater. And I will never forget it because honestly, it's one of those stories that was just totally life-changing for me. It's like I saw a live performance and I knew that that's what I had to do with my life. And God bless my parents because I just, from that point on, just started begging to see shows anywhere that I can and to see any kind of live performance that I could. I kind of became that kid, in my family. So I owe it all to my teacher.
And your first musical was Peter Pan with Sally Duncan on Broadway?
Yes,
First.
yes, and it was specifically that, I saw Captain Hook go up on stage, and I was like, "That's it. That's what I want to do." Like I was like mesmerized by it.
Yeah.
And it never really clicked that you can do this with your life, that you can train for this and start putting yourselves in environments where art forward environments where you can express yourself this way. So it was really a huge turning point for me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to ask this later, but since you mentioned Hook, I feel like I can see you in like the pirate regalia now playing Hook at some point.
I love it. I'll take
Sure.
that as a compliment.
Oh, yeah. No, I like to think these podcasts manifest things for people. So I'm going to manifest that for you.
Ooh, I'd love to play a Captain Hook. I would
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. Or like a version of it, from what is it? Peter and the Starcatcher.
Absolutely. What a show, too. My
Yeah.
gosh, I loved that show when it
Uh,
was on
I,
Broadway.
it was great. So, what I find interesting with your college career, you started off at Bucknell, but you were studying Japanese and what was it, like international business?
International relations.
International.
Yeah.
So, you're a fan of performing and you're like, this is what I want to do, but then you're like, not
Well,
studying that in the beginning, I should say.
yeah, I guess maybe this is what I want to do is not 100% correct. It's just I wanted to be a part of it, right?
Mhm.
But I never really understood, and certainly my parents, weren't like, oh, you should be an actor.
Mhm.
Like it was definitely like, oh, you should get a real job. You should study something that will help you get forward, in life. And that's kind of that first trajectory for me for college was. And it wasn't until I was in college that I really understood that this could be someone's career, that this could be someone's life. And I saw friends going into conservatory acting programs, and right in the middle of my freshman year, I started auditioning for conservatory acting programs and got accepted into a couple, ended up going to Ithaca College, and I never looked back, to be totally honest.
That's great. So why did you choose Ithaca out of the schools that you got into?
Yeah, I had friends who were go in that acting program, dear friends that I grew up with, and I just admired and respected so much. And I went on one of their kind of final days of the spring semester where they have all kinds of showcases and performances going up, and I was really able to see the student body do their work. I was able to see kind of the seniors who were ready to kind of venture into their careers, get up and do some incredible work. And then I met a lot of the teachers at that point. It was really personal. I just really clicked. It's honestly that simple. I really clicked with the professors there. I really clicked with the environment. I was specifically looking to be in a non-city environment since, my whole life and to that point really involved New York City in some way. And I wanted some kind of college environment outside of a city. And I was just wowed, by the work that was happening, and I thought that would be a great place for me. It was I'll never forget that the teachers really pushed a creative kind of angle towards their training, meaning that you really made the program into what you wanted it to be. And that really appealed to me. It really appealed to me that as long as I was willing to do as much as possible and explore as much as possible, that I would be supported. And they really did.
Great. So once you graduated, what happened next?
Gosh, I graduated. I remember I went to Actors Theater of Louisville from an open call, and I got my equity card there. They were doing this production of The Wizard of Oz, actually. I think it was one of either their first or second musical they've ever tried. And I was cast in it, and I was cast to understudy the Tin Man. I was right out of college. It was an incredible experience. And as soon as I left there, that was during the summer, right after I graduated. I went into New York for an open call for a production called Shakespeare's R&J, which was a four-person version of Romeo and Juliet. That was going to be opening off Broadway, and I got cast in that production. It became this huge hit off Broadway. We became the longest running Shakespeare in world history. And I played Juliet amongst six, seven other characters in that show, and that
Yeah.
was about 2 years of my life.
Hmm.
And it was just an incredible kind of way to start my career in New York City.
Yeah. So what was it like coming to Broadway in Hot Feet? And did you ever get to go on?
Gosh, I never got to go on. I
Mm.
think um, what was incredible about that experience was that I got to sit there with I was a standby in that show, and Adrian Bailey was the other male standby, who was an incredible actor, and his resume and career is unbelievable. And we got to sit there, and he really mentored me on what it meant to have a career in the theater, and specifically a career on Broadway, and watch everything unfold in front of us. Hot Feet is kind of a famous kind of a bit of a debacle, how it got into New York and how long we stayed open, and it was incredible to have, rather than have that experience really bring me down, I had a mentor sitting next to me, Adrian Bailey, and sharing a dressing room with me, who really taught me how to look at what I was experiencing and take every positive from it. So it was really one of the huge learning experiences for me about having a career in commercial theater.
Yeah. Now, I haven't been to Joe Allen in a very long time, but is Hot Feet on the wall? of that
I'm
restaurant.
not sure. I've actually
I think
not
that would
looked
be
for
like the
it.
true testament of like how big of a flop it actually
Yeah, I mean, we actually stayed open for a couple of months, which for
Yeah.
most of the flops on that wall, we're talking weeks, if not days of performance,
Yeah.
for a lot of them. So we actually had a good couple of month run with that show.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'd love to see that poster
I
again.
think you're gonna have to take a trip down there at some point to see if it's even there.
Oh, I will
Yeah.
definitely,
I,
definitely.
I know somebody who was in a Broadway show that famously flopped. They passed away a few years ago, but I remember her telling the story of like the show was so bad, and as soon as the show closed, you bet your ass, I walked that poster over to Joe Allen and I gave it to them.
I love
I was like, put it on the
that.
wall.
Oh
And I
wow.
think they did.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Well,
Amazing.
I take it as a badge of honor because my gosh, if you're going to go into this career, there are so many ups and so many downs,
Yeah.
including when you finally get to that, cross that threshold and start doing Broadway shows. And it just it runs the gamut. So it's incredible to be a part of, honestly.
And you also do TV, and for those listening, you do TV, you do film, you also do a lot of regional stuff, which I saw this play when it was at MCC, and I got really excited that I saw you did it, which was the Teresa Rebeck play Seared.
Oh yeah, I just did it last fall.
Yeah, okay. Because I saw the play with the original cast with Chris Rodriguez and
Of
Raul
course.
Esparza, and I was sitting there, I'm like, this play is so good, and you never
Oh.
hear about it, and so that's when in my research of you, seeing that you did it, I got so excited because I'm like,
Oh, I'm so
I could
happy to
talk to
hear
him about.
that. I love that play.
Yeah,
And you're right.
yeah,
I think it's one of the, one of the victims of the pandemic, to be totally honest, and where
yeah,
our industry was at that point, because I do believe that that play is that good.
yeah,
But for people who don't know it, it takes place in the kitchen of a tiny Brooklyn restaurant where the chef just gains this massive notoriety.
yeah.
And the New York Times does a review on him on a specific dish, and he refuses to do it as the play progresses. So it's kind of a commentary on creativity and a person giving into commercialism for success.
Mhm.
But the entire show takes place during dinner rushes
Yeah,
of evenings at this, highly successful restaurant. So you are cooking food on stage the entire time, doing very high stakes scenes, as you can imagine, in a kitchen of a restaurant. The cook the food needs to be edible, so you are cooking real food. One of the scenes is actually the chef creating his next masterpiece. There are no lines; it's just the chef creating his next masterpiece dish. Um, so I was able to be trained by incredible people for that production. I became friends with one of Albany's, top chefs as well, and it was an experience I will never forget. It
yeah.
really was that incredible to do.
I think because I was going to ask, did you train? And I remember that scene so specifically that you were talking about because I don't remember how long the scene is, but I was watching Raul Esparza, who played the chef in the show, and it's this entire scene where he's cooking, I think like halibut or some white
Yes,
fish. And
salmon, actually,
yeah,
yeah.
and just whatever he's doing. I mean, I guess I can ruin what happens because unless you see the play. But like he tries it and then he just like chucks it in the trash. He's pissed off how it came off. And after like all of this hard work, you see him go into making this one dish and it's like it's not
Yeah.
good enough. Oh, the
It's
dish
a
is so good.
It's a 10 to 15 minute, very creative and specific scene. And 10 to 15 minutes on stage is a very long time.
Yeah.
So you are just watching this person cook and create that entire meal. So as soon as you get to the end, when it gets to that moment of it's just not right,
Yeah.
and you see this creative kind of being just throw it in the trash and then continue. Um, I could really relate to that and
Yeah.
associate with that in my, different times where I've been trying to create something or work on a character and understanding that maybe the choices that I've come up with may not be the right choices.
Yeah. So I do want to touch upon a few other things before we get into just in time. Um, how did Come From Away come into your life?
Oh my
For those
gosh, that
listening, Caesar is a
show.
part of the original cast. People are still pissed it didn't win Best Musical.
I love, oh my
I
gosh.
think people were like surprised in a and I don't mean this in like a they were surprised like in a great fucking way. They were
Yeah.
so overjoyed and happy that the director of Come From Away won the Tony for Best Direction
Yes.
because
Very
nobody,
deservedly.
yeah, nobody thought it was going to be him, and
Yeah.
he won, and people just lost their minds with excitement.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'll never forget that moment. We were all together as a cast, actually,
Yeah,
when he won. I mean, it was just gushing tears at that point because
yeah,
we've been through this entire journey creating that show and doing 5 out-of-town tryouts and getting to New York and all this and getting the massive response of love and open-heartedness and kindness that that show brings. So when he got that, when his name was called, the room just erupted and kind of it just started crying.
yeah,
But I mean I originally got involved with it through auditioning, to be totally honest. My agent sent me the script, and then they said exactly what you shouldn't say about the show, which was this is a 9/11 musical.
yeah,
And I didn't immediately I said I can't. This is not for me. I'm not going to be a part of something like that. You
yeah,
know, I grew up in the tri-state area. I had friends from high school, and also parents from friends from high school. Parish in the Towers is my community was one of the strongest hit, and it just I couldn't fathom doing anything like a musical that had to deal with 9/11 and being able to do it. My agent, automatically said, "Don't worry about it." And then he called back, which is very rare, and
yeah,
said, "Can you please just read the script? Because it's not what you think." And I said, "Okay." And I sat down on my couch and I turned the first page and I started reading it. And as soon as I finished that last sentence, I called them back and I said, "I don't know how, but I have to do this show. Like, I have to do this show. I don't know how this is going to happen."
yeah,
And that's, he got me the audition. And a couple of auditions later, thank God, things aligned the way they did. And I was cast in the original company.
yeah. And it's forever on Apple TV Plus.
Oh, I think that live capture is beautiful. I think it
Yeah.
really captures what the show is like. There's nothing like seeing it live,
Hmm.
but it comes a very close second, to seeing the live production.
Yeah.
And to think that it was done in the midst of the shutdown, in the midst, of the pandemic, where nothing was open in Midtown, and we were in that theater doing that show. It gives me goosebumps just talking about it because that experience was unbelievable.
Yeah. And that was your first, I mean, not your first, but not your last time of note where you're playing a real person. So
Yes.
how do you, as an actor, play someone who actually exists, but try to make it your own?
Hmm. I've been so lucky to have a lot of roles that actually have that. To them, you
Yeah.
know. Um, I find that there's such a deep kind of honor and respect when you have to play someone that existed in real life, especially if that person is still with us. And most of the roles that I have played, that is the case. Um, But I also approach it, and thank God all the directors that I've worked with never wanted a copy of whoever I was playing. They really wanted us to make these characters our own. So my way of doing it is to get as much information as possible about the person and then create the character the way I would do it, and with as much respect as possible and with as much honesty and truth to the material and to the story that we're trying to tell. But there is something that is, for me, just like almost awe-inspiring to all of a sudden start a performance and know that the person that you're portraying is sitting in the audience watching that story unfold for the
Yeah.
first time.
Yeah. Did they say to you, no notes? Or were they like, I had one thing? Like,
Actually, To be totally honest, we watched the people that we portray in Come From Away watched their first performance because the theater in La Jolla was tiny and we could
Mm,
see everybody in that audience, and all we saw was people having a massive emotional release and kind of
mm,
holding on to the person that they were sitting next to. I've been very lucky that in most of the characters that I've portrayed someone who truly exists. The director and the writing team really got it right and have portrayed people the way that they would be happy about.
yeah. Speaking of playing other real people and based on true stories, I would love, and I'm so happy we're talking about it, is How to Dance in Ohio.
Yes.
I loved that show so much.
Uh,
I will say I was very upset that it didn't get like any Tonys nomination
yeah.
last year, especially like certain cast members. So I was like,
Yes.
that person needs a Tony, not like having seen the show. So tell me, how did Dance in Ohio come into your life and what
I
the
was
experience was
working.
like? Sorry, I don't mean to,
Yeah.
I'm going to
No,
add on to
not.
the question and what that experience was working on it. Because you've mentioned before how it's a very different rehearsal process than what you
Yes,
used to and how it's kind of changed how you rehearse moving forward.
absolutely. That I was the director for that show, Sammy Cannell. I was doing her production of Evita at ART and Shakespeare DC. I was playing Perón in that production. And I got a call from my agents that, oh, the director that you're working with, there's a role that's coming up. It's called Dr. Amigo in a piece called How to Dance in Ohio. It's based on a documentary. It's real life characters. It's a real life situation. Maybe check out the documentary and see if it's anything we should pursue. And funny enough, that way back when they were first creating this piece, um, the incredible writers for that show were being directed by Hal Prince originally. And for one of the first table reads, Rebecca asked if I would come in and read Dr. Amigo for it. I happened to be out of town, so I couldn't do it, but I still have that email. And she said, oh, we're just starting work on this piece called How to Dance in Ohio. It just kind of clicked in my head. I just remembered that was part of my history with the piece. So I watched the documentary and absolutely fell in love with this story. Everything about it. I found it extremely uh, inspiring isn't the word. It really just um, made people just push past the things that may limit themselves and really kind of go for it, which I loved. So I contacted Sammy and I said, "Look, if you think this role is right for me, I would love to come in." And she agreed. And after a couple of auditions, I was cast as Dr. Amigo for the Broadway run. Um, that show honestly has changed the way, and I see it now actually as I've done a couple of shows afterwards, how people approach uh, rehearsals, how people approach people's needs during the rehearsal process and backstage. For people who don't know, every single character um, that was an autistic character in the show was played by an autistic actor or actress in the company for the first time in Broadway history. And our first day of rehearsal, the first question that Sammy asked us was, what are your needs during this process? And I've never had that happen before. And people were given a space to be completely honest as to what they would need in order to succeed on a day-to-day basis and what that actually meant. And that production stepped up to the plate and did it. It was one of the most open productions, open rehearsal processes that I've ever been a part of. Um, and for Just in Time, the show that I'm doing right now, we have the same production stage manager, and he brought many of those practices into our theater, our backstage, and our rehearsal process now. So the legacy of How to Dance in Ohio is very much still alive and moving forward.
That's so great. Well, I mean, since we very smoothly transitioned into just in time, it was a transition, so thank you. And this is your what, fourth time working with Alex Timbers?
It is. It is.
Was your first time Pee Wee Herman?
No, that was my
No.
first Broadway show with Alex, was Pee Wee Herman on Broadway.
Yeah.
My first time, the first time I met Alex, I was doing a play at Yale. And this young man came up to me afterwards. It's like, "Wow, I love your work. My name's Alex Timbers, and I'm moving to the city next year, and I have a theater company. Would you be a part of it?" And I was like, "Oh, this is my number. When you graduate and move, let me know, and we can discuss." Never thinking that anything would come of it. Wouldn't you know, the next year I get a call from Alex to audition for his kind of first musical he was doing in New York called President Harding is a Rock Star. And he cast me as President Harding in it. It was an off-Broadway production, and that's how our kind of real relationship started. And we are way beyond work friends at this point. He is just a dear friend in my life and a very close collaborator. I would happily walk into any room that Alex is a part of. Um,
Maybe he'll direct you as Captain Hook in something.
hey,
Like that
why
happen.
not?
So, how did Just in Time come into your life?
It came in through Alex, actually. He asked me to be a part uh, of a workshop that was being done or a reading of Just in Time.
Mhm.
And it was truly just, it wasn't at the beginning stages, but it wasn't, close to the Broadway production yet. They were still very much developing the piece. And I came in and it was almost this same exact track that I'm doing right now. A lot of the same company members were in that room. And it just, even at that first time, I was like, there is something here. There's something here. There's something about this story, about this man in the entertainment industry and how his life kind of unfolded that is really electrifying. And they just kept on creating it and exploring it further and deepening it. And now here we are at Circle in the Square on Broadway.
Yeah, so for those who don't know Just in Time, what would you give like if you were, so I say this because I used to concierge at hotels and you'd have to like sell people on like seeing certain shows. Like,
Yeah.
what would be like your sidewalk pitch to someone to see Just in Time?
Oh my gosh, it's a fully immersive show that takes place in the Copa nightclub of your dreams, really.
Mhm.
And it's about the life of Bobby Darin. And I think what really hits my core about this story, it's about a creative person who thought he didn't have much time left
Mhm.
in this life and took every ounce of time that he had and made the best of it in his creative output. Because it is astonishing. A lot of people don't know Bobby Darin's life. It is astonishing what this man accomplished in his very short life, and how much he changed the American songbook. And Alex has really taken, a bio musical, what people would call a jukebox musical, even though I don't think our show is that at all, and really has flipped it and turned it on its head.
Yeah.
The response to this show has been, pretty unbelievable. I
Oh,
think you'd know if you try to get tickets right now, which is almost
well, I was gonna
impossible.
say, not to say that, but my old roommate and I were big Spring Awakening fans, and
Yeah.
so like whenever it's her birthday, I'll always like send her gifts of like either Jonathan Groff and Aaron Tveit. So
Yes.
Jonathan Groff is her man. And so she said
Ah,
to me, she's like, I saw the show without you, but it was amazing. And I'll see it again. I was like, great. That's how you knew she liked it because she would go back to see it again.
yes.
Aside from Jonathan Groff being in the show, she loved it. And I think the set is amazing. And his their concept where Jonathan Groff starts it. I like how I was calling him Jonathan, like I know him personally. I don't. Where he starts off, and he said this, so I'm not spoiling anything, but he starts in the audience with the audience members like as himself, and then he becomes Bobby Darin because he said in
Yes.
interviews like Bobby Darin came alive when he was in the audience, when he was interacting with people, when he was doing his thing. And so that's what's really exciting, especially with certain Broadway shows. And you're right, it's not really a jukebox musical, even though it's the songs of Bobby Darin. Like, to me, a jukebox musical would be something like Mamma Mia or,
Right.
All Shook Up. You have this is a biopic musical,
Hmm.
but told in a totally different non-traditional biopic musical. It's kind of like different from like Tina or,
Yes.
the Donna Summer musical. So,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry, I'm rambling about how great the show is, even though I have not seen it, but I'm excited. I hope to.
I hope you do too. It's an
Yeah,
astonishing show. It really is.
yeah,
And what I love so much about it is what Alex has done. It is surprising, throughout the entire journey of that evening, that audience is kept on the edge of their seats because the space is used unbelievably well.
yeah,
The script work in it is incredible. And what Jonathan does is really kind of one of those once in a lifetime performances. I mean, truthfully, it's not me drinking the Kool-Aid of a show. I've seen him work on this now through many iterations while we were developing the show up until Broadway, and it is a performance that is not to be missed.
yeah. And the show's been in development for like 7, 8 years. So I mean,
Yes.
and for it to finally come to Broadway, and it's in such a great space too, Circle in the Square, because it's such an intimate space as well.
I love that
Yeah,
theater. I
it's a great
love
theater.
it.
I've
I
worked
love it. One
it
of the one
many
of the first
times.
shows I ever saw was a version of Sweeney Todd that was done there. And me and my friends were obsessed with it. I think I saw it like 6, 7 times.
Mhm. I've done that with shows. I'm not giving you numbers, but I've done that with.
I
So
love
speaking
it.
of like seeing Sweeney, what have been like your top? I know you've mentioned Anna Devere Smith in
Yes.
Twilight Los Angeles. Am I saying the play correctly?
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That is my
So
top.
yeah. So nothing else? No,
Uh,
like
oh, absolutely. I saw oh my gosh, The Heiress with Cherry Jones
okay.
at Lincoln Center is another absolute like top performance. I remember just sitting in my seat towards the end of that play and just like not being able to understand what I just saw. Her
Yeah.
performance was unbelievable in it. I very much gravitate towards Anna Devere Smith's work, though, where it's a multi-character, real life experience where she's portraying real people, where something has happened to. So actually, going back on one of your first questions, that is the performance that made me switch in my head when I was in college to say, I want to study. I want to study to be an actor. I remember I was at Bucknell and I took the bus into the city and I went to TKTS and had no idea what Twilight Los Angeles was. And I just got a ticket to it. And when I finished that evening, I made up my mind um, that I would, apply to acting programs, conservatory acting programs, and try to do this with my life.
I'm gonna nerd out for a second. Isn't that what you love about theater? Like I saw Vanya off Broadway twice, and the first time I saw it, I know, sorry, not to like brag or anything. Um,
Oh,
not to brag, but
I love it.
uh,
I love it.
oh, I got like the really cheap, shitty seats, so I was kind
It's
of like
all right.
bobbing
I'll
and
take them.
yeah. So the first time I saw the show, I was just sitting there watching Andrew Scott, and I was like, ah, this is why I love theater so good.
Yes.
Because like when you have someone who's performing and giving their all and just, oh, it's one of my favorite things.
But when everything works, when you experience something where everyone is firing on all cylinders, it almost feels like they're doing that just for you.
Yeah.
It is so you just get transported,
Yeah.
and you forget about everything. You forget about anything that you may be going through that day and just riveted by this person's performance. There's nothing like live theater. I don't care what anyone says. You cannot get that experience anywhere else where someone, a living, breathing human being in front of you can all of a sudden make you forget everything.
Yeah. Is there any dream roles or projects you'd want? I mean, aside from doing Captain Hook with Anna Devere Smith,
Like my
uh,
childhood dream.
yeah. Like, wait, any like dream roles or projects
You
that you would
know,
want to
I,
do?
I would love to continue. I love doing new work. So my answer to this is always that it hasn't been written yet.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
have a
think it's a
feeling
very common one. And you've been very lucky because,
very lucky.
a lot of, I don't want to say like a lot of people, but there's a good majority of people that I've spoken to who I've worked with or have had on the podcast who, they're originating roles, but they're like revivals of something.
Right.
And, original work sometimes nowadays is not easy to come by. And so you're, I don't mean to be like you're like, but you're so fortunate and good for you. And you do like amazing stuff.
Thank you so much. I
Yeah.
I mean, it is a huge honor. I'm very fortunate that the work I've done, even on Broadway, has been original companies and original, very creative work
Yeah.
that's taken really the time that it needs to be developed, because you're right, it doesn't happen that often.
Yeah.
So I'm my wish that I'm putting out there for a dream role is that I get to experience it, um, a long creative process on a multi-character a role, with just a creative team, of my dreams, really, and a
Can
rehearsal
you
room, like
share who your
open
creative
rehearsal.
dream team is, or are you keeping that close to the chest?
I'm keeping that close to the chest, but if
Fun.
if you see the people that I work with over and over and over again, that they're all included in that. There's a very big theme to my career so far.
I think I know who the director is, but that's in my head.
Yes.
Yeah. So do you want to do the inside the actor studio questions really quickly?
Sure, sure. But
Okay.
I just want to go back to what you said. It also includes producers, because
Yeah.
a lot of my shows have had these incredible producers, and people don't realize how much the tone of a show starts from the top down, no matter
Mhm.
what. Like no matter what.
Yeah.
And there are producers out there that really take that responsibility seriously and really nurture a company the way that they should. And it's incredible to be in a room like that.
That's great. So now let's awkwardly transition to ask you questions. The inside
I
the
love
actor
it.
studio questions. Okay. What is your favorite word?
Ooh. Uh, lately I've caught myself saying bonkers like 1,000 times
I
a
love
day.
that. Oh my God, I love that so much.
To the point that I'm like, did I just say bonkers again? Like I'm saying bonkers all the time right now, and I don't know why or where it came
You know what?
from.
Later on, you're gonna be like, oh my God, that podcast interview is bonkers, but in a good way.
Love it.
Okay. What is your least favorite word?
Oh, no.
What turns you on?
There's nothing like open creativity for me. Heart forward, open creativity.
What turns you off?
Oof. Uh, Any situation that stops someone from being able to express themselves fully, their real version of themselves, anything like that.
What is your favorite curse word?
Um, Fuck.
What sound or noise do you love?
Ooh, I'm hearing it right now. Birds like chirping when it's really quiet.
That's so nice. Yeah, I live on 8th Avenue, so I just hear sirens all the time. Uh,
There we go.
what sound or noise do you hate?
Oh, you know, I remember during the pandemic when I was in my apartment, I heard sirens all like constantly all the time, and it that one really takes me back to a dark place there.
As I like previously mentioned, like sirens coming up 8th Avenue. Full circle. What profession other than yours would you like to attempt?
Hmm. What profession other than mine? You know, it would have to be creative. I would love to try something completely outside of the entertainment industry, something that really empowers people. So, something that really empowers children to really go forward in life and stop limiting themselves. So something in that direction, whether it's a teacher or an organization that really has that as the focal point.
What profession would you not like to do?
Mm, I would not. What would this be? You know what? I love to cook. But what Seared taught me, I always thought I was gonna be a chef. Like like that was another like huge thing of
Yeah.
mine.
Hmm.
I would not. I love cooking for like my friends and family. I realize that I would not be a good restaurant chef.
You know what? That's what's so great about acting. If you're like, oh, I wish I was a teacher, you can play a
Yes.
teacher. There you go.
Hmm.
Okay, so as Mr. Lipton would say, and finally, heaven exists. What would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Oh, come say hi to your loved ones.
And here are your students. That was so lovely. So, Caesar, before we end, is there anything you'd like to add? Problems, questions, concerns, life advice? I mean, we already touched upon why live theater is amazing, but anything you'd like to add? You have the floor. I'm just going to sit here with my hot priest mug. Go ahead. What else just says Neil?
No, I'm just saying we've been realizing that we're finally at a point where our industry is really starting a trajectory up. It took this long to get out of what we went through in the pandemic. It really did. I
Yeah,
think this is the first season where we're there. So thank you to the people who are supporting live theater.
yeah.
My God, like you're the reason we keep going.
Mhm.
And please, when and if you can introduce someone to the arts, it can change it and could change their lives the way it changed mine, the way it's
Yeah,
changed countless people.
yeah.
So please, even if you think it's silly or a local show or it may not matter, it will. I promise you. I promise you there are people who can absolutely change their life.
And go see Caesar in just in time.
Come, I
Yeah.
promise you that is going to be an entertaining and joyous evening.
Get a piece of merch with Jonathan Groff's face on it because I hear that different
I
episode.
love it.
Well, Caesar, thank you so much for coming on. You can stay on when I'm done recording.
Of course.
And thank you all for listening. Go see Just in Time at Circle and Square Theater.
Thank you.